costs and implementation. So if you have questions about how or no one project or community gets all the funds, there are 6 project categories with spending limits for each. There must be no less than 5 and no more than 20 projects each year. To learn more, visit jampja.org to view your MP's CDF info and tell them how this fund has impacted you. If you don't see your MP's CDF reports, then put them under little pressure, man. Call, tweet, email. Ask them when they'll submit it and when is the next CDF meeting. Change is possible. It's already happening. What we need is you. A message from the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, funded by the European Union and the Inter-American Development Bank in partnership with the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica. Remember, gambling is just a game. Choose to gamble responsibly. Set a budget, avoid chasing losses, and stop gambling when you reach your money limit. For gambling help, call RISE 888-991-4146. A message from the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission.
No more guarantors for student loan. Your government cares about your education, and we don't want you to ever have to worry about going to university. The Students' Loan Bureau has a loan for you, so you can focus on your future.
Your safety and security continue to be our priority. We are seeing a downward trend in major crimes, and we are investing $650 million in technology improvement for our police force to provide greater coverage across Jamaica by 2028.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
What can a little germs do?
Pink eye running belly, even flu. Germs can make them happen to you.
Put germs on our manners with these. Cover your mouth when you cough and sneeze. Always wash your hand with water and soap. Keep dirty hands from your eyes and your nose and your mouth. You don't want to be sick, take care. Practice every day, no germs round here. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Send me number 5 for $100.
Child, you're too young for your gamble. And me, you want to get in a trouble? Go on home.
Underage gambling is illegal. If caught enabling a minor to engage in gambling activities, you can be fined up to $1 million or 3 months in prison. Call Crime Stop now to report illegal gambling. You don't have to give your name. A message from the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission.
Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you.
What is the role of a backbencher in government? I'm glad you asked. They're members of parliament who are not appointed to cabinet. So they sit in the back of the legislature and they apply pressure. They examine what government legislates, participate in parliament debates, raise issues and advocate and question chamber when things don't look straight. Backbenchers represent the constituents in parliament. Backbenchers oversee the interests of citizens, you and me. But how can they be agents of government accountability after them no hold no portfolio? And them and a minister? No. So then how can they facilitate government transparency? And the next thing, them and a front bencher. So how them affect me? You see, a lot of work is in committees. So these portfolio-free MPs with less dire responsibilities are more accessible to you and me. So they help with policy, but it helps if we engage them, you see. So they're not just in the back benches, but on the ground, in the trenches. Though in the back of parliament, we're at the front of their cause. So pause. Find your backbencher at jampja.org.
Apply to the Heart NSTA Trust. Learn a new skill and expand your horizons. Your government has made it completely free to you.
would expect. Okay. Would expect maybe Smartly might be a bit late. The clerk is out of the jurisdiction on parliamentary business. That's Miss Lowe. So other than that, I have no other apologies. Thank you all for coming. There is one set of minutes from the meeting of October 25, 2024, which have been circulated and which I take. Oh, speak of Senator Scott Motley. Minutes for October, October 25, 2024 have been circulated. I take them as read. Page 1 deals with issues of the opening remarks, confirmation of the minutes. Page 2 looks at the questions of matters arising, and Senator Sinclair, it was being received encomiums for his handling of the thorny issues of 68. He called me this morning to say that there are a few matters from 68 he wanted to re-review, but I have indicated that I'm not going to do that at this time. We moved on to Standing Order 70, and there was a recommendation for a meeting of the Senate committee, what is referred to as the Senate committee, should be called. Chairman Sinclair asked to speak with the leader of government business in the Senate who would chair the meeting about convening the meeting. So on matters arising, we'll ask if he has done so and what was the response. In Senate. I'm in Senate. When you have one woman in your life as your wife, is one thing, but when you have two, as in wife and daughter, it's. Which one? Which? Sinclair, you know exactly which one take precedent, right? But I'm not going to say it publicly. So I apologize for that telephone call. There is still hope for you, you know. So the Senate committee did not recommend a change to 70, but there is some further discussion. The chairman asked Ms. Lowe to follow up with Senator Sinclair to ensure that the meeting is convened. So Mr. Sinclair is going to have to answer to that. The meeting went on to discuss Standing Order 70A, which is the Caucus of Women's Parliamentarians, and that was really recently put into the standing orders. Senator Scott Motley echoed the view that it's a significant change to the standing order. Senator Gale applauded the insertion of the provision. Senator Golden Campbell echoed the sentiments of Scott Motley and Longmore. Senator Sinclair noted that this provision was gaining ground and suggested that reviewing 74 procedures in Select Committee or 74A, the members should consider crafting provisions along the lines to ensure that members could, to ensure that there would be at least one mandatory meeting of sessional committees. I think that's a very good idea. Senator Scott Motley thanked the committee clerk. Senator Sinclair. No. Senator Sinclair inquired whether a reference to members of parliament in standing orders 70A to B would include senators, and in fact we have a have an opinion concerning that matter, which we will take on the matters arising. Senator Sinclair inquired whether members of Parliament would include senators, noting that the reference was made at times in the standing members of the Senate versus them. Senator Fraser-Baines recalled that when the discussions were held, members had specifically indicated, and so the discussion continued. As I said, we can deal with it in matters arising. Finally, final page, Ms. Cohen, who had provided support to the committee at the time, might be in a position to provide some guidance, which she has done, which I will read shortly. Mr. Cohen said it appeared that a review of several provisions would need to be done because it appeared that there was inconsistency in the term members as to how members was defined. So this is something that we need to look at. Senator Scott Marty said that the establishment of a caucus women parliamentarian wouldn't necessarily make reference to members of parliament because it was joint. Okay, so we have the note that we can read. At this point, Ms. Brandon informed the committee that the standing orders, the House of Representatives, the provisions relating to notice was the same, but differences occurred when it's made reference to the House. Okay. She stated, however, that in her view, the reference to members of Parliament was dealing with specifically with members of the lower house. She pointed out, for example, and so the discussion continued. So, could I have a motion in relation to minutes? Senator Golden Campbell proposed, seconded by Senator Scott Motley. Okay. Matters arising. Senator Sinclair, on page 2, you had undertaken to have a word with Senate Leader concerning that committee. Is there any progress there?
We will be having further discussions on that, Mr. Chair.
I beg your pardon?
We'll be having some further communication in relation to that.
Okay, could you define further communication?
Meaning that
because it suggests that the discussion would have been... No, you see, he said use the word further.
No, we will have further.
So what does
so
that
we
mean?
would...
What
so communication has started.
It has started.
And we will continue.
Could you just indicate the...
I've not gotten anything that I can present in any official way to this meeting, I said. But,
okay,
but it is a good suggestion. I said it seems to be across the membership of the committee, and at least one meeting should be held, at the very least.
Thank you very much.
And I believe the intervention that we got from Member Golden Campbell would indicate that that particular committee has many things that it can have under its consideration.
Okay, so you'll hold further discussions with the
Yes,
leader of
sir.
government business, who is the identified chairman. We didn't
Yes.
want to think of changing the chairmanship. Yes, Senator Gale.
Chairman, we never got a chance to really expand on the suggestion, but I think it was a very good suggestion. I'll tell you why. You know, we have these committees that don't meet, that members are assigned to these committees but are unaware of what the roles are of these committees are. And the very nature of having a meeting, sir, can explain to members what are the scopes of these committees. And I believe strongly that if we have committees of Parliament, we expect the committees of Parliament are to work. But in order for them to work, they have to meet. And we have to know what we're working at. And sometimes we leave things untouched because we don't meet to talk about it. And we must, in the very least, observe that very first genetic meeting to start the course of business in these committees. So I agree with the fact that, you know, it's a good suggestion, and I urge Member Sinclair to push for these further discussions so that we have some understanding in terms of where we're going and what the objectives are.
Thank you very much, Senator Gale. Well, I think that Senator Sinclair has a feel of the imperative that we view his engaging with the leader of government business in the Senate. Now, the other thing that, as a matter arising, remember that there was a discussion about the use of the phrase or the description members of parliament as to whether it should include or whether it does include members of the Senate. I'm going to there's a note here from Ms. Tracy Cohen, who was at the time assisting the committee. So I'm going to ask Ms. Jimenez if she could read it for us. You have a copy, Ms. Jimenez? Okay. So please give Ms. Jimenez our attention, please. Remember that she's reading a document. It's not her document, but no doubt she would have formed an opinion of it.
Before us is an email from Ms. Tracy Cohen. It's dated Thursday, October 31, 2024, sent at 9:10 p.m. to Rosemary Douglas Beckford. The subject heading is Members of Parliament in SO 70A 2B. Dear Mrs. Douglas Beckford, reference is made to the discussion at the meeting of the Senate Standing Orders Committee on October 25, 2024, concerning the use of the term Members of Parliament in quotations in Standing Order 70A 2B, which assigns to the Caucus of Women Parliamentarians the following duty. Open quote. Receiving submissions from citizens and organizing meetings between citizens, community groups, sectorial organizations, members of parliament, and representatives of the government agencies to facilitate exchange of views on the operations of the government and their effect on communities and groups in the society, end quote. Standing Order 70A2B mirrors the wording of paragraph C of Standing Order 73C of the Orders of the House of Representatives, which outlines the duties of the sectorial oversight committees of the House, open bracket, the Economy and Production Committee, the Human Resource and Social Development Committee, and the Infrastructure and Physical Development Committee, close bracket, and has no counterpart in the standing orders of the Senate. It appears that SO 70A 2B aims to enable the caucus, as constituted in the Senate, to operate as above committees do in fostering dialogue between citizens and officials, including elected representatives. If so, the language of this order would be in conformity with Section 36 of the Constitution, which says that persons elected to the House of Representatives shall be known as members of Parliament, in quotations. Best regards, Tracy Cohen.
So, Ms. Jimenez, what's the bottom line, as they say?
The bottom line, as they say, is that any references to members of Parliament in the Standing Orders number 70A would be and refer to members of the House of Representatives. Just to confirm, Mr. Cohen and the rest of the team, we are currently looking to the Constitution to see if there is any reference therein of senators being referred also as members of Parliament, just for, out of an abundance of caution. It's not there. All right, we'll just ask for that time to just check and to verify on our end. Thank you.
Yes, Deputy Clerk.
Chairman, just to read for the benefit of the members, Section 36.
Pull your microphone closer to you.
Section 36 of the Constitution, Chapter 5 under the rubric Parliament, provides that the House of Representatives shall consist of persons who, being qualified for election as members in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution, have been so elected in the manner provided by or under any law for the time being in force in Jamaica, and who shall be known as members of Parliament. Now, that does not necessarily preclude preclude senators from also being considered members of Parliament, but it I'll read it. Yes, sir, I will read it again. The House of Representatives shall consist of persons who, being qualified for election as members in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution, have been so elected in the manner provided by or under any law for the time being in force in Jamaica, and who shall be known as members of Parliament. The House of Representatives shall.
Sorry, go ahead, Senator Gill. Sorry, Mr. Cowan, you finished?
So we use these terms interchangeably, yeah? And based on what has been referenced, we may have been using it incorrectly. Now, there are those of us who are referred to as parliamentarians. So maybe we need to get that distinct definition as to what constitutes a parliamentarian. We have to know where we fit in, sir. Whether we are fish or fowl, or red herring, as since this has now been brought to our attention.
Yes. What, Senator? Okay. Come now, Mister. Yes.
Okay.
When I said come now, Mister, it's Marshall. I was talking.
Okay. So you're hearing me clearly now? Okay. So Mr. Chair and Cavan is very correct. We speak of parliamentarians in the collective because we are talking about the individuals who are members of the parliament. And the parliament constitutes two chambers, the House of Representatives and the Senate. And those houses are distinctly stated in the Constitution. The House of Representatives deals with members of Parliament, and the Senate deals with senators. But we are all parliamentarians, and there is no need for any confusion, right? Members of Parliament are elected individuals. Senators are selected individuals, and the Constitution is pellucid where those things are concerned. Is we confusing it?
You see, thank you, Senator Morris. So may I just point out? May I just point out to the Deputy Clerk as well that in the definition of, where is this?
It's the recent drafting of the Constitution that confuses it. The standing order.
Look here. Thanks for the Secretary to point this out to us. The Senate and House of Representatives Powers and Privileges Act has a definition of House to mean either the Senate or the House of Representatives, and member means any member of either house. But of course, this could not trump the Constitution. Senator Sapphire Longmore, Dr. Longmore.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I kind of got some clarification to my question. I was going to ask if there, just as was read before, if there was a similar definition of senator in the Constitution that we could reference. There's no clear definition of that. Okay, perhaps. There is?
35.
Okay, so can we get that? I would appreciate hearing that definition, please. Thank you.
Right, Chairman, just two quick things. One, I thank Mr. Cowan for pointing out Section 36 for us because I think it has clarified the issue. I think part of why we had this misunderstanding, Senator Dr. Morris, Professor, is that over time, we as a country have often seen the House of Representatives as including the upper house and the lower house, and we refer to the lower house as member of parliament. And that is just something that happens over time. But I think, and again, thanks Mr. Cowan, I think that the provision in 36 has clarified that the members of parliament are in fact the House of Representatives. And when you look at 34, it tells you how the parliament is consisted, because it said the parliament is consisted of the Majesty, Her Majesty, the King, His Majesty, the King, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. So the second part is to answer Senator Longmore's question, that we can get some guidance from 34, which says, there shall be a Parliament of Jamaica, which shall consist of Her Majesty, comma, a Senate, and a House of Representatives. 35 goes on to tell you how the Senate is composed, and it said the Senate shall consist of 21 persons who, being qualified for appointment as senators in accordance with this Constitution, have been so appointed in accordance with the provisions of this section. And then it talks about the 13 senators appointed by the Governor General acting in accordance with the Prime Minister, and the remaining 8 by the opposition. And then 36 is what Mr. Cowan read earlier, which defines the House of Representatives, otherwise known as, well, and they're called members of parliament. It would be the 63 elected representatives downstairs. And the House of Representatives, also called members of parliament, with the senators now, form the Parliament of Jamaica, along with the Governor General representing His Majesty.
So if we were to, sorry, Senator, I think Senator Sapphire Long.
Well, I just appreciate the clarification and the edification. Just want to also relate to the vernacular that we use, culturally, MP. We commonly refer to the members of the House of Representatives as MPs, which MP, Member of Parliament. So I think that it speaks to what we really need to do to clarify our position, as was said by Senator Gill, because as it is here now in the standing order, we probably should not be contributed according to what is listed there.
Which I don't think was intended.
Exactly.
I don't think that was
We have no standing, is what you're saying. In terms of the
submissions. That was not obviously not what was intended. So the question is that would arise is how the amendment that needs to be made to it for it to be inclusive.
The other place too.
So we would have to propose an amendment for it to read members of parliament and senate.
Members of parliament and senate can be an easy.
Chair, frankly, if we're going to amend it, we should take the opportunity of amending the language of that particular standing order as well, because it's not really in conformity with how our standing orders are framed. If you look at it, I think we could assist.
Look at it. Let's look at it.
Sort of, and I know the clerk is agreeing with me, that the language could be modified to make it more in harmony with the other standing orders.
What I would suggest, let us look at it this way. Let us revisit it. Let us revisit it, along with, if you could ask the clerk to just, I know that he's looking through the standing orders along with the legal officers, just look and see where else in the standing orders is the Senate included in the expression or the phrase members of parliament. Because as Senator Gale, you want to come and chair the meeting? So what we should do is look through the standing orders and see where else there's a reference to members of parliament, which is purporting to include the Senate, because I suspect that this is not the only place. So you could have a look at that for us, Deputy Clerk. Okay, so let us move on with the intention to return. Senator Scott Motley, you remember that on the last occasion, an issue of a committee came up, and we said that we should look at it. Do you recall? When we were setting up a committee to look at Senator Morris's motion. And I said to you that is something that we should look at.
Yes, I recall that. But we did establish, we did name the members
Yes.
to the committee.
So we had dealt with it accordingly.
We had dealt with it.
Okay, good.
As required, I think.
Okay. So we are at standing order 71. And if we could just perhaps take 71 and 72 before we break. 71 refers to a special select committee, and it says that a select committee other than a sessional select committee shall be known as a special select committee, shall be appointed by order of the Senate, which shall specify the terms and reference of the committee, and shall consist of such members as the Senate may nominate. A quorum of the special select committee shall be such as shall be specified in the standing orders. Ms. Jimenez, does the definition of special select committee appear? Do we have such a definition? Yes, it does. As in on page 2 of the standing order, special committee means a select committee other than a standing committee appointed to consider certain matters and refer to the Senate. So that is pretty pellucidly clear, right, Senator Morris? Yes, yes. Yes, Senator.
No, my edification again. So what is other than, what's a sessional select?
Well, for example, the Standing Orders Committee would be a
sessional,
which meets continuously.
Oh, okay.
But the Special Select Committee is
Right.
a committee which is established to look at a particular
Okay. Mhm.
or peculiar issue, as we did in relation to the...
So why isn't sessional select in the definitions also?
That's where I am. Beg
Chair,
your pardon?
on page 2, why don't we also have the definition for sessional select?
If you look at 66.
No, page 2, where they have the definition,
I
so
appreciate
special
that,
and
but look at 66.
66.
We don't have to have it in the definition section. Necessarily.
Definition section normally in legislation would deal with not everything, but matters that need some clarification.
Specific clarification.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
I don't think that we need to interfere with 71. So 72 states, Constitution and chairman, Constitution and chairman of select committees. Where a member of a select committee dies, God forbid, where a member of a select committee dies, or for any other reason his seat becomes vacant. Eh? But you make me read the thing now and you don't want me to read it. Where a member of a select committee dies, or for any other reason his seat becomes vacant, But all you have to say is the seat become vacant, that's all. Then the Senate shall nominate another member in his place. Subject to the wishes of the Senate, the proceedings of the committee shall not be invalidated on the grounds of the death or vacancy of any member of the committee. So Secretary, we're going to take out the reference to dies. So you make a note of that, madam? Yes. We're going to take, all it will read is where a member of the select committee becomes, or for any reason, his seat becomes vacant, right? You know that we have a, this is not for the record, but we have human beings have a desire to move around the notion of death, eh? So there was a little girl whose grandfather died. And so the headmistress on Monday said, everybody needs to pray for little Mary, because this is in a school in St. Mary, by the way, Senator Morris. We need to pray for Mary because she lost her grandfather over the weekend. Everybody knows the grandfather because he's a JP and he's the one with the store. So we need to lift up the family and pray for them at this time, the loss of the grandfather. And the little girl said, Miss, and a last and are dead in death. which I always, I think it's extremely funny. And you see, like how you just get the work, you have to be laughing more than everybody else, you know. So that's 72. Yes, sorry, Senator.
Since it is agreed by the membership that the reference to dies or death, I believe you already. Yes, sir. I'm just asking, please, if we could get how it is going to be read when it is taken out.
Like as follows.
Yes.
We're a member of a select committee.
So it cannot be just taking it out. That's what that's what
Yes.
I want to do.
We'll have to go reword it.
It have to be where the seat of a member of the select committee becomes vacant. I
Right.
think that's what you're talking
For
about.
any
Basically,
reason.
that's what I'm getting at, so
Yes.
that we can get the wording, because I didn't want us to leave with the impression that
Just to take it out.
dies.
No, it would have to. So it could read where the seat of a member of a select committee becomes vacant for whatever reason.
Thank you.
What did I say? For any reason, yeah, becomes vacant. That's okay, Madam Secretary? Good. And 72.2, except as otherwise provided by these orders or by special direction of the Senate, a select committee may elect a chairman from among its members. That's clear. And let me just deal with 73 and then we close. The Senate may, for the purposes of any select committee, appoint not more than 6 members to sit with members of the House of Representatives as a joint select committee. So here the House of Representatives is being used to refer specifically to the lower house. A quorum of, go ahead please.
Not more than 6 members between each, from government and opposition. 6 members of, so it would be 6 in total from the Senate.
6 members of the Senate.
In total.
Yeah, not more than. And the quorum of a joint select shall be such as the members decide. A joint select committee shall elect its own chairman. So that's clear. 71, 72, 73, there are changes and rewording to 72, 71, 73 remain as is. Thank you very much. This meeting of the Standing Orders Committee of the Senate is adjourned for a date to be fixed, more than likely next week, Friday. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the support staff. Yes, Dr. Morris.
interests of citizens, you and me. But how can they be agents of government accountability after them no hold no portfolio? And them and a minister? No. So then how can they facilitate government transparency? And the next thing, them on a front bencher. So how them affect me? You see, a lot of work is in committees. So these portfolio-free MPs with less dire responsibilities are more accessible to you and me. So they help with policy, but it helps if we engage them, you see. So they're not just in the back benches, but on the ground, in the trenches. Though in the back of Parliament, we're at the front of their cause. So pause. Find your backbencher at jampja.org.
We want a piece for Jamaica.
Yo, what are you? Oh, man, none of that. No, brother, no, man. Mash up that, man.
You see you ever play ref? Dirty game,
yeah,
no
but
play.
like a ball game. No, I said, place when you come from, brother, I want to live good, man. I want to live good, brethren. No shake hand, I want to play like a ball, brethren.
Really have to shake hand?
Yeah, man, and no badness, brethren. Just live good, man.
Come together as one and make the violence done.
Your safety and security continue to be our priority. We are seeing a downward trend in major crimes, and we are investing $650 million in technology improvement for our police force to provide greater coverage across Jamaica by 2028.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Apply to the Heart NSTA Trust. Learn a new skill and expand your horizons. Your government has made it completely free to you. Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you.
We know you want better roads in your towns and communities. That is why through the Spark program, your government is allocating over $40 billion over 2 years to fix your community and rural roads. $20 billion will go towards fixing smaller roads in every area, with $150 million allocated per area. The remaining funds will be distributed based on road length and condition, ensuring areas with greater need receive more assistance. Your government is caring for you.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Remember that big project the government announced them was going to from when? You ever catch yourself a wonder what happened to it? Stop wonder like an outsider and start move like the country belong to you. You have a right to publicly owned information, and the Access to Information Act gives you that power. I know you have enough questions about how government are run or not run, so let me show you how it works. Say mosquito spraying going on in your community, your children asthmatic and you want to know what chemicals are in it. Or what about that Auditor General report on a public official getting twice his salary with no proper approval? Is your taxes and you want to know if they paid it back? First, do some basic searching to see what is already on government websites. If you don't see what you're looking for, make a formal ATI request by completing the application form on the ATI site or sending a letter or email. And remember, you don't have to say why you need it. It is your right to know. Make sure you send your request to the right agency, and once they confirm receipt, they get 30 calendar days to provide the information, a maximum of 60 if extra time is needed. Yes, I know you want access to everything, but sensitive documents are protected from the public for up to 20 years. For example, documents that would expose a citizen's personal privacy, or those dealing with cabinet discussions, the Governor General's office, or information on the investigative activities of the security forces. Any public officer who tries to destroy or hide any official document can be sanctioned. And if you're having difficulties, the ATI unit will help. So, what if the chemicals in the mosquito spray are toxic? What if the agency did not even try to get back the money they paid out? Call or email your MP. Share the concern, because as your elected representative, they can represent your questions to the government ministers in the House. Remember, it is the job of parliamentarians to monitor and hold the government to account on your behalf. Is not every country give citizens this kind of power, you know? And at 20 years we have this law, and we barely use it. So access information and mind your business, Jamaica. Visit jampja.org today to see what information we access to make it easier for you to hold government to account. Let's do our job to make Jamaica land we love, Jamaica land we own, and Jamaica land we run well. A message from the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, funded by the European Union in partnership with the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica.
Young Jamaicans up to 35, your government will reserve up to 10% of NHT housing solutions over the next 5 years, just for you with 100% financing up to 15 million Jamaican dollars. This is how we are empowering and breaking the cycle of poverty meaningfully. Your government is caring for you.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Every student attending Heart and STA Trust under the New Care Initiative will get $15,000 each month to help cover their travel expenses to the Heart School they're attending and get an extra $13,000 each week while they're training.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Your safety and security continue to be our priority. We are seeing a downward trend in major crimes, and we are investing $650 million in technology improvement for our police force to provide greater coverage across Jamaica by 2028.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
We know you want better roads in your towns and communities. That is why, through the SPARK program, your government is allocating over $40 billion over 2 years to fix your community and rural roads. $20 billion will go towards fixing smaller roads in every area, with $150 million allocated per area. The remaining funds will be distributed based on road length and condition, ensuring areas with greater need receive more assistance. Your government is caring for you.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Do you wish there were a way your community could get funding to improve a school, health center, sports program, and more? There is! It's the Constituency Development Fund. Here are a few things you probably didn't know about the CDF and how you can make it work better for you. The CDF policy promotes citizen participation in community development and protection of taxpayers' funds. It outlines that MPs are to meet with citizens at least once every 2 years to agree on the projects needed. You know, it used to be once a year? We should really go back to that. Projects developed without community consultation are not to be approved by the bipartisan CDF Parliamentary Committee. There are 26 government agencies that implement projects, usually for a small fee. Funds are provided directly from the Office of the Prime Minister to the implementing agency, not through the Member of Parliament. The CDF unit monitors project costs and implementation, so if you have questions about how the CDF are run in your community, contact them. To ensure no one project or community gets all the funds, there are 6 project categories with spending limits for each. There must be no less than 5 and no more than 20 projects each year. To learn more, visit jampja.org to view your MP's CDF info and tell them how this fund has impacted you. If you don't see your MP's CDF reports, then put them under little pressure, man. Call, tweet, email. Ask them when they'll submit it and when is the next CDF meeting. Change is possible. It's already happening. What we need is you. A message from the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, funded by the European Union and the Inter-American Development Bank in partnership with the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica.
Young Jamaicans up to 35, your government will reserve up to 10% of NHT housing solutions over the next 5 years, just for you with 100% financing up to 15 million Jamaican dollars. This is how we are empowering and breaking the cycle of poverty meaningfully. Your government is caring for you.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Every student attending Heart and STA Trust under the New Care Initiative will get $15,000 each month to help cover their travel expenses to the Heart School they're attending and get an extra $13,000 each week while they're training.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
On Sunday, August 11, in the quiet community of Cherry Tree Lane in Clarendon, our entire nation was shaken by a brutal act of violence.
Gangsters mercilessly took the lives of 8 innocent Jamaicans, including a 7-year-old boy.
These criminals will strike again, destroying more families and more communities, unless we stand together to stop them.
If you have any information that can help bring these killers to justice, please share it with the security forces.
The government has established a reward fund of $25 million for information leading to the arrest and charge of the perpetrators who committed this heinous act.
The facilitators who supply them with the arms, intelligence, and the transportation.
And those who harbor and protect these criminals after the crime.
If you know something, say something.
Call Crime Stop at 311, MOCA at 888-6622-847, the NIB at 811, or JDF at 837-8888.
Together,
we
will
defeat
the gangs
and develop a culture of peace in our country.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
More of your money is now tax-free? Know that the income tax threshold has been increased. Your government is looking after you responsibly, so our economy can do even more for you.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Our pensioners are our society's backbone, and we want to make sure they are cared for. That is why the annual pension exemption and age relief exemption has been increased to $250,000 each. You have worked hard for your country, and we want you to have a little more peace of mind in retirement. Your government is caring for you.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
What if I told you that you own thousands of acres of land, more than 100 companies with over 100,000 employees and billions in the bank? Well, I have news for you. You do. Jamaica belongs to you, and you need expert protection to safeguard those assets for your future, your children, and your children's children. And you already have it. A key protector is our Auditor General, whose role is outlined by the biggest, baddest law in all the land, the Constitution. The Auditor General's main job is to examine the financial reports of all public entities to ensure that they are accurate and that public funds are used appropriately and effectively to deliver public goods and services without waste, theft, and mismanagement. Here's how it's done. A team of highly trained auditors reviews and verifies that the right amount of money is spent on only what's approved in the national budget and in accordance with the laws and policies that protect public resources. Now, the right amount of money can be spent on the right things and Jamaicans still no benefit. So the Auditor General assesses the outcome for programs and projects as well. Audit reports will also contain recommendations to improve the operations of the audited entity, and the findings are submitted to the Parliament's Public Accounts Committee, the PAC. Every year, an annual report is submitted by December 31. Both government and opposition MPs serve on the PAC, and they summon public entity managers to answer questions so that they and the public, the real owners, yes, you, can understand what went wrong and how to prevent a recurrence. What are some things that can and do go wrong? Cost and time overruns, missing financial reports, unreported losses, unauthorized spending, unsupported payments, unlawful contracting, undisclosed conflict of interest, and more. Though the AG identifies the abuse of laws and policies, the law does not empower that office to penalize or sanction, but it does empower the Financial Secretary in the Ministry of Finance. It is also the duty of other anti-corruption and law enforcement bodies to grab the button and investigate to ensure